Like I tell people, do not trade your peace for a check, for a title, for an organization, for any of those things, because you can't get your peace back. And you
That's
also
right.
can't keep pouring it from an empty cup. And so if you're not feeling whole in here, then you can't pour into anybody else. And so I had to take a step back.
Greetings, and welcome to When the Moment Chooses You. I am your host, Coach Charlene, and I am so delighted. Today, I have a powerhouse on the podcast today, y'all. Her name is Shantrice Winston. And so welcome to the show, first of all.
Hi, welcome everybody. Thank you so much, Ms. Charlene, for this opportunity. I can't tell you how overwhelmed I am. And it's just ironic, this is on Juneteenth, so I feel like all this
Yes.
Black excellence and power today. So thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you so much for having me. And I'm excited about what the next few minutes hold. I'm excited to share any knowledge I can give and gems that I can give and help the next person along the way.
Yeah, that is awesome. So let me just give you a little bit of context because I like to start out with a little bit of context of what I started the podcast. It really came out of 2020 when we were experiencing, I'm going to call it a triple pandemic because we had COVID-19, we had racism, and we had our own personal loss and pandemics like that. And so I was, cruising along, and then I saw the unfortunate murder of George Floyd. And that just like hit me so hard that I literally, yes, absolutely. So it sent me into prayer because usually I don't watch TV like that, but it just did something to me. And I went to prayer. And honestly, God really spoke to me. And he said, what you do in this moment will determine your destiny and dictate your future. So I, the sister girl, had to wipe my tears and move from frustration and anger to action and impact. And then I started sharing my story. And it just really just kind of like went viral in a sense. I got the courage and the boldness to walk in all of the different horrible things that I had been through and overcome and start sharing it with other people to bring transformation. And so that's kind of how the idea of storytelling came up. And I was like, I want to hear other people's story because people start sending me their stories and they start sharing all of the stuff that they had been through. So I was like, oh my God, this is like awesome. And I was actually in a place of restlessness where I was in my career. And so there were some things that were going on within me that was trying to tell me that, hey, it's time for you to shift as well. And so this really just gave me the avenue to really do something that was like totally meaningful for me. And so that was like the story of the creation. It's been around for 2 years. And now that I'm early retired, I really have more time to engage. So that's my story. And so I want to pull out, Shantrice, your stories. But before we do that, I want you to tell the audience who you are.
So powerful, impactful story. And I'm at a point in my life right now where I'm making that transition into what does the next life look like. So who is Shantrice? I'm a mom. I am a daughter, a sister, a wife, God-fearing. God is first and foremost in everything that I do in life. I am a nurse by heart. And this career, I didn't choose. It was chosen for me, but I along the way have realized that it's my chosen assignment. I am a person I put my best foot forward every day. I am committed to everything that I do. I'm also a person that's very transparent, which you all will find out over the next few minutes that we're talking. But I feel like what I went through, my story, my experiences will help somebody else. Like I feel like everything that has been a part of my life has been truly a calling. I know just kind of that moment that chooses you was like the title of this. And, I honestly feel like that everything in my life has not been by accident, that it all kind of feels chosen. Every path I've been on, every role, as I said, being a daughter, a mom, a wife, a student, mentor, and a leader, even this very moment, to be very transparent, I just went live with my LLC in March. So you were the very first person to reach out to me to do a podcast. So I've been nervous all week. And my amazing husband has just been like, be you, be authentically you, be transparent, and it'll be fine. He's like, you're an educator. You can do this. So even this moment feel like it's been divinely orchestrated. It's my path. It's what gets me out there. All the moments haven't been the greatest. There have been a lot of hard moments. And a lot of time I didn't understand the why, but here I am. And so now I'm stepping into that. Funny thing, being a nurse wasn't even my original career plan. I did not want
Yeah.
to be a nurse, okay? Growing up, I wanted to be a teacher. And then I realized they didn't make any money. So I was like, okay, let's pivot to something else. And so I told myself that I wanted to be a pharmacist. And so that's what I set out to do. But my godmom and my aunt are both nurses. And they were like, you need to go to nursing school. I was like, I don't want to do that. And so I applied to pharmacy school. They gave me a partial ride. Nursing school gave me a full ride. So I was like, well, this must be God's plan. So here I am 20 years later, and I wouldn't choose to do anything else. It is truly my calling. The impact I've been able to make over the years, like you mentioned, COVID, being able to be a part of that. COVID changed a lot as healthcare. It changed a lot in how we operate. Literally, you are in class one day teaching a class in person, and then the next day everything is viral. You have patients taking their last breath, and you have to be that healing part. You have to be the one to hold their hands because families
Yes.
weren't allowed to be there. And so all of these avenues have kind of paved the way for where I'm at now. And I'm at that point in my life where I'm choosing a different career path, and I feel like this path has been chosen for me. And ironically, ended up the last 7 years of my nursing career, I've been in education. That's been my role, nursing professional development and teaching new nurses and developing curriculums. And so I still ended up coming full circle to that original thing that I wanted to be as an
Yes.
educator, but just in another avenue. So again, while this role hasn't been easy, like I've come to understand that all of these things have made my story.
Yes.
And then my story becomes somebody else's survival guide. It becomes their know that I can do it too. Even when things are chaotic or uncertain, I can still excel too, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And I really love how you shared that because the full circle moments are so powerful. Because I thought about when you said that, I was like, oh my gosh, it's so true what you're saying because you're a nurse, you're a nurse, you're a nurse. That's just like who we are. But then there's this occupation and vocation.
Yes.
You see, there's like that, it's a marriage of those two together. So even while I was a nurse in my element, I was still Charlene, my vocation, one who inspires, one who teaches, one who's transformed. And so that is, I think we are like so powerful. And some of us don't even know our power, honestly, Shantrice. I was talking to a nurse the other day, and she's struggling a little bit. She wants to shift her path, but she's like, but I've only been in nursing for 15 years. I'm like, 15
Only
years?
nursing
Yes.
years are like dog years, okay? 15 years as a nurse is 45 years in any other occupation.
Yeah, but it's so interesting how a lot of times we don't recognize our own power and our expertise. If you've been doing something, I mean, you know how we do it. We troubleshoot, we innovate, we
Absolutely.
work around, we do everything we can. I mean, the hospital could not survive without
Yes, we're
nurses, period.
MacGyvers, okay? We will make a dollar out of 15 cents. We're going to make this tubing work one way. Give me some tape. I can fix it. Just give me some tape.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, okay, so let's go to some of your moments. So, because we know like both of us are sitting here now really doing well and feeling encouraged and inspired, but it wasn't always like that. There's been some sobering moments in our career. Like there's one that I always share. It was when I was in nursing school and I was cleaning this patient up. She was a Caucasian woman. And I was cleaning her up and getting her pretty so that her family could see her for the first time because she had just transferred there and her hair was all over her head. And one of my things was, you will not look like that on my watch. And so I got her all dolled up and cleaned up. And then as I was washing her up, she had these long fingernails and they were like really dirty. And she grabbed my wrist really tight and she said, get your hands off of me. And she used the N word. Now, I'm a nursing student at that time. And I'm just going to be real transparent.
I ain't always been saved.
And so, look, so here's what happened. There, I'm stuck. She's looking me dead in my eye. There was a voice over here, the devil over here that said, put the pillow over her head. And then there was like God and my mom and just all these other voices over here saying, love her beyond. And that part right there blew up on the inside of me. I continued to clean her up. I got her dolled up. They had a beautiful visit. Was I traumatized? Absolutely yes. But I did not allow that moment, that moment became a movement in my heart, which I came to revisit 20 years later when I start speaking up. So it was like super powerful. So tell me about some moments that Shantrice had to deal with. I know you have had several.
You want to start? Like
I
where do you
know.
want to start on this journey?
Whatever you think will help inspire
You
people.
know, moments, barriers, obstacles. I mean, I had them all. It's hilarious. I feel like sometimes I've had Berlin walls, let alone barriers and obstacles, and those moments. Just kind of looking back over my life, like we grew up with very little. My mom used to joke all the time that we were so poor that we couldn't afford the other O and R, so we was just poor. Now we can laugh about it. But when you're growing up, that's not the funniest thing. And
I
then
hadn't heard that one before. That's good.
and we laugh. We definitely still laugh about it today. And then everything kind of shifted my junior year in high school. My mom was diagnosed with epilepsy and became severely ill. And so overnight, I had to grow up. You're the oldest, and so you
Yeah.
kind of naturally take on that responsibility. And so I became a caregiver long before I was a nurse. Like I could tell you how the brain worked long before I opened a nursing textbook. And then, just as all of that's happening, I'm trying to come into my own, and I became a mother myself. So now here I am, a caregiver, navigating through adulthood, raising a child, still trying to work, and pushing through nursing school. My son and I like literally grew up together. I can remember times like he went to class with me because I didn't have childcare. I couldn't afford to send him to daycare, and my siblings helped a lot, but they were still in school as well. And so I laugh with him all the time, and I think that's why he's such a genius today, because he was in college before he went to kindergarten. And then nursing school I went to, and I went to HBCU. And I mean, my very first nursing 101 class. So to those of you that are out there that are in nursing, I'm like, oh my God, I don't know if I can do this. My very first nursing 101 class, I failed. Pivotal in my entire career. And I didn't fail because I didn't do the work. I failed because I did the bare minimum. And my instructor at that time, Eric Williams, I cherish that man till today. I cried. Back then passing was 77. He gave me a 76.8. So I cried because I wanted them 2/10 of a point. And he said, absolutely not. He said, you are smart. He was like, you are brilliant and you're going to do amazing things. But if I let you be mediocre today, you're going to spend the rest of your career being mediocre. So you're going to take this 76.8 and I'll see you again next fall. And I cried and I pouted and I went to the dean and I did all of that. And it didn't matter, but it did make me resilient and it did make me come back and fight harder. It gave me a story and a testimony. And so when I have new grads and new residents and I'm talking to new nurses, yeah, you're looking at me today and I'm this leader and I'm this director and I'm standing in front of you, but I failed nursing 101. But it didn't take away my calling. This was still my calling. And so I fought to do what I needed to do. Doubted myself many times, but quitting, has never been an option. Other moments I can think of, I've been in my nursing career. I was in the career for almost 7 years, doing an amazing job. And I went through a divorce. It was not pretty. It was very messy. And I was angry and I was mad at the world. And so I came to work every day angry. I was that nurse that nobody wanted to give report to. Like, they was like, can we just write report for her and leave it?
Wow.
I was that nurse that if I gave you a patient, because I always work nights, if I gave you a patient at 7 p.m. and or 7 a.m. and I came back at 7 p.m., I expected that room and that patient to look just like I left it. And if it didn't, I'm not taking a report until you go fix it. Like, because I was so angry. But my anger had nothing to do with my coworkers. It had nothing to do with my organization. It was all internal anger. And I didn't know how to display it anywhere else. So I displayed it in the one place I had control. And my manager at that time, her name is Kosha McCallie. We're still great friends. She's on LinkedIn. She pulled me in the office and she's like, what is going on with you? Like, you're a great nurse. The complaints that I get is never in your patient care. Your room is going to be immaculate. Every I is going to be dotted. T is going to be crossed, but your personality sucks. And I can't keep making an excuse for that's just the way she is, or that's just the way she is, and I can't just keep, bypassing and sticking these write-ups in file 13. Like, we have to do something. Like, what is going on? And I just start bawling, and I'm like, I'm going through this divorce, and it's so horrible, and it's awful. And she said, this is what I need you to do. I need you to go to HR, and I need you to file for short-term FMLA and intimate FMLA. And so on those days when you wake up and you feel like you can't do it, use FMLA and call out, because I would rather you do this and do what you need to do to get yourself back on track than to lose your job. And I
Okay.
keep bypassing.
That was so much in there. So okay, I got to go back a little bit
Go back,
because
let's go. I told
oh
you,
my God.
you
No,
made
but
me
this
feel
is
comfortable, so you about to get it. The very
hey,
transparent and raw.
no, but it is so good because I want to go to the fact that you were a clinical expert, period. Hands down, but you had some issues with your personality. And I think I have seen so many nurses that are clinically sound and are jacked up in their attitude. And so for that manager to pull you aside and say, "Hey, you got to check your attitude." I just think that was so profound and such a gift really to you.
It was a gift, because she could have just terminated me and would have had probable
Exactly.
cause for it. But it really made me, when as a leader, when I see a change in my staff, when I see that person that was really outgoing and bubbly, and all of a sudden there's a shift and they're really quiet, let's have a moment. Like, pull them in the office. My office is a safe haven. Like, I have all these sayings on the wall and fluffy pillows to kind of make people comfortable. And sometimes if you just listen, you don't always have to be the one to talk. Just
Yes.
listen. People will tell you what's going on. And so that really taught me about the kind of leader that I wanted to be. And I wanted to be present for my staff. I wanted to not just see them as another employee, but also see them as people. When you have an amazing staff, your staff will follow you and get you through
Yes.
anything, but you have to be willing to see them as people. So pivotal moment in my career. And then now pivotal in the moment that I'm in right now. I'm actually in transitioning from leaving my role. And it's because at this point in my life, like, I'm choosing peace. I'm choosing myself. I'm choosing self care. I don't have babies anymore. My kids are grown. They're 26 and 22 now. I just got them remarried last year. Matter of fact, my anniversary is in 2 weeks to an amazing human. And so I'm choosing myself. And when you're in an environment that feels toxic, that doesn't feel productive, that you're giving, and you're not receiving, you should not be in an environment where you're not sleeping. Like, I tell people, do not trade your peace for a check, for a title, for an organization, for any of those things, because you can't get your peace back. And you
That's
also
right.
can't keep pouring it from an empty cup. And so if you're not feeling whole in here, then you can't pour into anybody else. And so I had to take a step back. I know in our, culture, for the most part, is cliche. I have a therapist and I love her to death. And we talk every other week. And sometimes we talk every week. But it's getting to understand that, as a middle-aged Black woman in my 40s, like, we've always been taught that you take it on the chin, you come back and you fight another day, you cry in the bathroom floor, you say a prayer, and you move on. But that's just not reality. And when you work in professions like healthcare, where you have to be resilient and you have to be somebody else's advocate and you have to go no matter what, taking care of yourself is non-negotiable. And so I've done that for the last 6-7 months and just kind of focused on Shantrice, figured out who I am without being a mom, without being a nurse, without being tied to anything. And it's been an amazing experience. It's allowed me to be vocal in what I'm going through. If you check out my page on LinkedIn, I do a lot of posts about mental health and resilience, because we have to be. The times that we live in right now, we have to be healthy inside, not just physically, but also mentally, to be able to survive the things that's going on, to be compassionate. You can't be compassionate for others when you don't have that compassion for yourself. So I'm
That
a
part.
real
That part right there, we're going to stop right there because there's somebody here listening today and they're in that mode that you described yourself in. You're coming to work, you're doing the task, but you're like, you got a fire going on the inside that's negative. That's self doubt, or whatever. If it's a divorce, if it's some trouble going on at home, there's issues that we're dealing with before we come to work. And so, what would you say to that nurse or that physician or a healthcare person that is in that same spot that you described? Because I really believe that you hit people right there where they're living at. And so, what would you say to them is their first step toward taking care of themselves in that situation? before they self-destruct.
Pray. Go back to your why. When I'm in classes, when I'm teaching, when I'm doing nursing professional development, when I have new nurses coming in, the first thing I always ask them is, what is your why? What is your purpose? What is your why for doing what you do every day? And you have to stay rooted in that why. Write it down. I know everybody's not big on the vision boards. Write it or get a dry erase marker, write it on your bathroom mirror. I have more things written on my bathroom mirror, but stay grounded in your why, because you're going to come to those closed doors. You're going to get to those setbacks. You're going to have those days where you feel completely empty and you feel like everything is shaky and it's uncertain. Focus on your why, pause, pray, whatever your, faithful being is. Always go back to that. There is an answer for everything. I have to say, the church that I've been in for the last 3 years, my pastor is not just a preacher, he's a teacher. And so there hasn't been a sermon yet that man hasn't given that takes me back to whatever I'm dealing with professionally.
That's really good.
Celebrate the small wins.
Yeah.
Every win is a win. If you posted that reel last week and it only got 10 impressions and it only got 4 comments, guess what? Delete it, tweak it, and repost it. Not enough people saw it. Celebrate it the next time when you get those 20 impressions and now you have 10 reactions. It's a win. That means you had additional people see it this time. Learn how to rest without guilt. Pour into yourself. Whatever that is, you find that thing that keeps your cup filled. Mine is working out. I've dedicated at least 4 to 5 days a week, at least an hour a day. That is my time. You have to find that space in that time. And if all else fails, know that you are never alone. You are not created just to endure and to exist.
Yes,
you're created to thrive. And so know that you're not alone. There's a reason why we have mental health nurse practitioners and psychiatrists. Talk to somebody. Get you a mentor. Your mentor is not your preceptor. That's not the person that precepted you on the job. Your mentor is that person that you identify with, that person that has goals that align with yours, that person that is going to pat you on the back and clap for you, but will also pull you in a closet and say, get it together.
Exactly.
Mentor. I love my mentor, amazing person. And I know that I can call, text her any time or day or night if I just need something to, I have a question about something, I'm unsure about something, and she's always going to lead me in the right way. So I would say pause, pray, celebrate your wins, rest, and get you an amazing mentor.
Well, those are awesome. Those are super awesome. And then when you were talking, you also really that self-compassion piece, I really picked that up really strongly, because I think as nurses, as healthcare workers, we have compassion for everybody else, but we don't really turn it around and have it to ourselves. I remember I was, after post-COVID, it was around 2021 or something like that. And, I was feeling that unrest again. And so I sat on a healing circle, and it was really profound because they focused on self-compassion. And girl, I had to turn my camera off because I was boo-hooing and I was bawling. But the sad reality was Charlene was showing compassion to everybody else, and I was not being true to who I was. My spirit, that whisper in my soul, was talking to me for years, and I was ignoring it because I loved the comfort zone. And so I had to get delivered from that comfort zone.
Yes.
So that I can, yeah. And then I had to start really saying, you know what? I am going to be true to me. I am not stepping up and doing A, B. No, I'm not going to do that. No, that doesn't align. No, I started saying no so much. And then I said, you know what? It's time for me to take time off. I took time off, and I found this quote: you don't die when your heart stops beating. You die when your heartbeats have no meaning.
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, so I recognize that, you know what, Charlie, you lost some of it because you've given out all of your slices of bread, and now your loaf is empty. And so now I had to reinvigorate myself. And so I love what you're doing. I love what you're talking about. So, okay, come on, give me some more, girl.
I mean, just feeding off of what you said about comfort zones. Like throughout my life, I've learned that growth never happens when you're in your comfort zone. You gotta outwork that fear. You gotta outwork the surroundings, whatever that is, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a job, whatever it is, you got to get out of that comfort zone. And what I've come to understand that sometimes God will remove the comfort zone from you because you're not strong enough to walk away, to make it so all you have to depend on is yourself, so that you have to get grounded in your purpose. You
Yep.
have to get connected with your why. You have to get those setbacks in order for you to be able to move forward. Because let's just be real, being nurses, we make pretty decent living. And so
Yeah.
your job may be toxic as I don't know what, and you may be in your parking lot crying before you go into the car every day, but you like, that thing gonna hit my account in 2 weeks and it's gonna make it a little bit better because you're in the comfort zone. But that comfort zone keeps you bonded. It keeps you with this kind of glass ceiling. I know that there's things on the other side of it, but I never have the desire to go on the other side because I'm stuck in my comfort zone. And so you have to, in order to be able to stretch, in order to be able to grow, you got to get out of your comfort zone. And it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be comfortable, and you're not going to like it every day. But that's the only way that you find out what your true purpose is and what you're intended to. And that's where your joy comes back.
Well, and then if you think about it, would you rather have regret or comfort? You know,
Absolutely.
I had to start thinking about that, girl. I just hit 59 this month, and I was like, you know what? Do you want to die on your deathbed and say, Charlene, you didn't write the book, you didn't speak, you didn't do,
Exactly.
no, I don't want, hey, look, I don't want all of those things around my grave saying, hey, I was a business you were supposed to birth. Hey, I was
Right.
a book you were supposed to
I
write.
don't
So,
want my
yeah,
legacy to just be, she was a good nurse.
yeah.
She was a good nurse, and that's kind of the end of it. And so you can't create that legacy when you're in your comfort zone. So yeah, you have to get out there and do it. Nursing has been my comfort zone for 23 years this year. And so I know I've excelled at the bedside. I can run every machine, take care of every patient. I've done education for the last 7 years. I can develop a curriculum. I can do all of those things. But this is out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
It's standing in front of a classroom, and that's what my husband told me earlier. He was like, just pretend you're standing in front of a classroom. He was like, and you'll be fine. This is out of my comfort zone, but I feel like I have a lot to say. I feel like I have a story to share. I feel like, we need to be more transparent that everything is not suns and roses, and there are going to be those days that you're not feeling your best. And how do we navigate through that? You don't give up on your career. You don't give up on your dreams. Sometimes you just have to pivot a little bit different and follow new dreams and follow a new path. And so that's the road I'm on right now, is in pivoting into a new path. And so taking what I've learned as a nurse, taking what I've learned in professional development, and being able to give those coming behind me. Yes, as a leader, you need to have leadership skills and know your leadership style, and you need to have great communication, and you need to be able to do all of these things, but you also need to know how to entwine that self-care, how to entwine your why, how to create calm in the chaos, how to continue to fill your cup. And so, yes, I want to teach all about communication styles, but also how do you incorporate your self-care into your communication styles and communicating with other people? How do you create that self-care space in your leadership styles, and so that you're not that leader that is just serving and you doing everything, and you're not delegating, and you're not taking care of yourself in the end. Being a perfectionist is hard. I'm a perfectionist, and for so long I was that nurse on the unit. I didn't want to precept or orient. Ironically, I ended up being a teacher, but I didn't want to precept or orient because I'm type A and I'm a perfectionist, and I didn't want people in my room and don't touch my pumps and leave my patient alone. They're on a turn schedule. But you have to be able to come out of that. You have to be able to teach. You have to be able to pass the torch, because I'm going to retire one day and I'm going to be on a beach with, a nice drink in my hand and some blue water. But I want to know I left a legacy behind and I was able to pass the torch. And so that what we do in this career, in this profession, last. And I've also learned over the last couple of months and doing this and starting to write and all of those things, that the things that we learn, it transfers into any profession. My
Yeah.
husband is into plant management, and when we're talking about leadership stuff and we're talking about communication, some of the same things that I'm telling my class, he like, wait, let me write that down so I can take it back to the meeting on tomorrow. And so I hate when somebody say I'm just a nurse, because you're never just a nurse.
No.
Because as a nurse, we wear so many hats. And we cross paths with so many people, and we do make the difference.
Yeah,
And so you're
absolutely.
not just a nurse, you are the nurse. And so I always tell people, take that with them.
That's right. No, that's good. Well, you're on the right path. I'm really
Thank
excited about your
you.
next journey.
Thank you.
So before I retired or early retired last year, I'm almost 1 year old as a retiree. But
Congratulations.
hey, but look, somebody was like, yeah, they were like, Charlene, you haven't retired. And they were like, because we see you more now than we saw you then.
Because
And I
now
was
she's
like,
walking in her calling, in her purpose. And
that's
so,
it,
yeah,
girl. That's it right there. But yeah, no, I'm so excited. Here was a sobering moment. And I think when I read your post, I felt this as I was like, so like I said, I was not listening to the whisper of my heart. I knew that God was getting ready for me to kind of shift out because I kept saying, oh, I'm going to retire. I'm going to retire. Like literally, I said it for like 5 years. So my staff even they knew about it. They were like, Charlene. So when I told them in January of last year that I'm actually going to retire in July, they were like, oh yeah, whatever,
yeah,
Charlene,
whatever.
whatever. And so when it started coming up and it started happening, I got a pair of golden handcuffs because I wanted to walk out of the building and release my golden handcuffs. And so I got a video of me doing that. And it was just for me. It was like this funny, silly thing that I wanted to do. And so I did it. And so, but let me tell you what happened after that. I had all my trips planned and stuff like that, no problem. But then I had been writing books, creating curricula, and all of that stuff while I was working. I get to the place where Charlene can't even write content. She can't even think. She can't even create. Like I was literally stuck. And so I was like, okay, Lord, what is going on here? I mean, I really couldn't do anything. And so I call it my God walk. I went on a walk in nature with God. And I was walking, and oh my God, He revealed that I was carrying around soul pain because I was misaligned for so long and I hadn't really dealt with all of the different issues because I was too busy. I was
Mm.
too busy to deal with all the stuff. And so when I was done, I was quiet. I didn't have to be at a meeting. I didn't have to be running nothing. I didn't have to create anything. It was just me. And so I start peeling. He made me peel away every layer, almost like a leaf. All of the directors that were inappropriate with me. I mean, I had to get rid of all of the stuff. And I said, you know what? I'm going to pause for 30 days, just straight silence. I'm not creating, I'm not doing anything. And do you know, Charlene tried to get busy? I tried to create busyness because you know what? We think that our value is in how busy we are or how many things that we're doing. But as God really, He broke me down in a sense because He wanted me to see that my true value was in the essence of who He created me to be and
I'm gonna
what
need
He
you to
created
stop
me to
telling my
do.
story, ma'am. Don't be telling my out here telling my business like that, okay?
I had
Like,
to just
yeah,
drop that on you a little
telling my
bit.
business like that.
But anyway, the end result of that, I paused for that 30 days, but it was such a profound revelation because I had to make sure that my value wasn't in my title. My value is in the anointing that He has placed on my life to touch other people's lives. And so it was phenomenal, but you don't know that you're carrying all of that because you're too busy to pause and find out. So that's why I love when you said pause, just stop it. Anyway, since you're on that journey, I thought I'd share that piece of wisdom with you.
Thank you for retelling my story. Because yes, he's definitely made me pause and just kind of realign. Um, I know we're almost out of time, but um, if I could just give some words of advice and some gems to somebody else. Um, I mentioned earlier, protect your peace, and I will stay with that. Protect your peace in your circle.
Yes.
What I've learned is you have to create boundaries, and it's not going to be easy. You're going to lose some friends along the way. You might even lose some family members, but you have to protect your peace, create those boundaries. What you can't do is hear clarity from God in chaos. And when you start talking about taking a walk and Him literally stripping everything, because that's what I've been going through the last 6 or 7 months, literally being stripped of everything. Like I'm in a house by myself, me and my dog, and he sleep, husband at work, daughters at work, and it's just me and these four walls. And after a while, they close in. And so, but it made me regrounded. It made me say, okay, go back to your why, refocus on your why and repurpose. So Definitely protect your peace in your circle. Stay rooted in your identity. Do not let anybody, not a check, not an organization, not a title, not a letter or a certification derail you or change who you are. Stay rooted in who you are, because as soon as you lose that, you lose your why and you lose your purpose. And then last but not least, I would say yes. Even when you're scared, even when you like, what is happening? I'm not really sure where this road is taking me. Say yes. Courage doesn't mean you're not afraid, but it means that you take those moments anyway and that you walk into them. And that's what I'm doing now. I am saying yes. I was definitely afraid of today, but I said yes. And I'm walking out on faith and in my purpose. And I had all of these things that in my head that I was going to say, like I practiced and rehearsed. And then God put me in my comfort zone and he gave me somebody to help me be comfortable in it. And so that's what I've realized. When it is your purpose, you don't have to practice. You don't have to rehearse. It comes
No.
naturally. You just walk in it. So I thank you for this opportunity. I am forever grateful. I will definitely stay in touch as things are evolving.
Yes.
I will definitely keep you posted and let you know. As soon as my website is available, I'll also send you that information. But for anybody, that wants to get in touch with me, you can find me on LinkedIn, Shantrice Winston, or you can email me at enom, healthcare consultant at gmail.com with any questions, concerns. And I'm looking forward to this next chapter.
Well, that is wonderful, and I'm so excited. It's the way that I did my podcast. Like, I didn't know anybody, and I was like, those self-limiting beliefs, like, who's going to be on your podcast? When the idea first came, who gonna listen to you? All of the things came up, but all I knew is that I needed to. I was on there with Shola Richards, and he told me to take action. And he's like, stop all of the excuses and take action. And I was like, I know that because I teach that, but I wasn't doing it myself. But just that simple ask. And so that one step that you're doing right now is profound, and you will not have to strive. You will not have, because of what you have planted on the inside of you, things are going to be drawn through you. There's a corridor principle that says, as a man or woman moves, he draws the desires of his heart to him. And so when we finally get in that pivot in our place of assignment, those people, those organizations, those people that are supposed to be with us will be with us, and you will not have to work like crazy to get them. And that's what I'm finding out, because a lot of people are like, well, Charlene, you need to do this. You need to do this. You know what? I need to make sure I carry peace and undisturbed composure. And so I'm not going to strive. I strove for 30 years and I refuse to strive anymore. And so what's coming to me is going to come fluidly. It's going to be in a flow. And that's literally what I've been experiencing. And I see you experiencing the same thing, because I hear such power coming from you. There's so much essence that you have. People need to hear your story. And so I'm so delighted. I'm so thankful that you allowed me to be the first one to have you on the podcast. You will have plenty more.
Going forward, when somebody said, what was that pivotal change in your life? I add this to the list. Again, thank you so much. Thank you for seeing me. You didn't see the nurse, you saw Shantrice. So thank you for seeing me. And again, thank you for this opportunity. And I'm taking all of those in, all of those words of wisdom, and the sky's the limit. So thank you so much.
Okay, you're welcome. And thank you for listening, everyone. And I will put her details in the comments section so that you can reach out to her and definitely be more engaged, because she has so much wisdom. Thank you for being on the show again, Shantrice.
Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you so much for listening. Hey, I want to invite you to join my Substack community. I actually have a free newsletter that I send you every month when you join. There's also another level to it. If you're a paid subscriber, you actually get a copy of my book, When the Moment Chooses You, and signed by me, as well as the access to a Q&A segment that we do and other live shows that I'll be doing. I'm also going to be doing a special Awaken Align class for those who want to really pursue their destiny and seize those moments that are in their life. So join that community. I'm trying to move things over there so I can have more contact with people. So I'll see you over there. I'll put the link down to join. And basically, it's only like $10 a month and $8 a month if you do the yearly subscription. So I look forward to seeing you over in that community. Thank you, and I love and appreciate all of you. Bye bye.